Plan was that Piers and Rob would windsurf over, meet us at Island Bay Saturday afternoon. We were all set up waiting in Island Bay for them to arrive. However, they didn't. And then we got a sort of garbled message saying the wind was too strong, they're turning around. And we were like, I don't know if they're joking. If we're still going to make this work, let's see if we can just jump on a ferry. So Jack, booked a ferry very quickly. It gave us very little time. We threw all of our gear into 3 different cars, boosted to the ferry terminal. Jack had called them ahead of time saying we were on our way. They're like, okay, we'll have someone waiting for you, we'll see. We just basically got ushered in this side door into the ferry. And we made it, and we had a lovely time in the sun. Then we arrived in the evening. They had a fire going at our mate's place. We set up the tents and had burgers. And then in the morning, we took off. We got the boat. 5 of us in the water, and Jimmy driving the boat. We had 1 windsurfer and 4 wing foilers. Everybody's excited.
Good group of guys.
Those guys are weapons, though. Piers and Robbie.
True.
Because Jack, much to my brother Jack, how he survived in those conditions.
He did outstanding.
He did outstanding.
Didn't give himself enough credit for getting. He basically did most of it as well.
Piers, he's like that breed of person that doesn't exist that much anymore. Just does the things that he likes to do in his life. We were chomping at the bit, and so we got in the water too early. And there's not enough wind, which meant we spent the first hour just sapping energy. And that's just especially with backpacks and everything on, it's just incredibly draining, just rolling about, trying to get up. It was miserable. Okay, get Matt's board, get the stuff on, get the screws in, get everything ready. Okay, get the board in the water, then pump up the wing. Matt and I got brutally seasick at the start, so it's basically okay, let's get in. So the boat stops, and then it's just and Matt and I were just so we both relied on other people to get us through. We all got going. Everything was glorious. Sun was shining. But it meant that all 5 of us were sort of going around together. You could see everyone at the same time. Jimmy was driving the boat. We were tracking perfectly for Island Bay. My track was on my backpack, so it meant that Jean and that were like, okay, Robbie and that should be in the next hour or something. So they turned back up at Island Bay. But in the meantime, about 3 or 4 kilometres from Wellington, conditions turned real gnarly as we got closer to Wellington at some point. And then the rest of us carried on for another while.
Sorry, when you say take a knee,
Get back on the boat.
I got disqualified.
I got disqualified. And suddenly we went from everybody seeing everyone and everything being fine to Jack had to suddenly bail. We kept carrying on. If it had been running laps around us all day, suddenly couldn't even get up in the wind because it was so strong. And basically everybody except me tried to get back in the boat at the same time. Then the boat was scurrying about in what was now terrible conditions, trying to pick everybody up. And I was just getting smoked. And then was like, do I carry on and try to get to land? Noting that the point of land I'll now hit will be basically the Red Rock Steel Colony. And do I want to be flapping about in the water around the Steel Colony? Probably not. This is how close we got. So I was just faffing about, I don't want to go too much further because the boat will need to try and find me. And then it did, and it was a glorious sight. Yeah. As soon as I got in the boat, my arm just seized. It was like, oh. It was then, by that point, 5 hours in the water.
Well, there they are, the welcome crew.
His daughter runs to him and he starts crying. Sorry, I'll start through in the room that you cried.
Yeah, there wasn't crying. There was an emotional scene nonetheless.
Does this mean you'll try again?
It sounds like it, right? It sounds like he's...
I'm keen. I'm not desperate to cross the strait. It's just it's a fun weekend. You go and camp and you have some drinks with friends and everybody's excited. But it was funny. Everything was good until it wasn't. And then it just all of a sudden you're like, oh crap. So there were some lessons learned.
We don't need to remember all the bits, just the good bits.
Just the good bits.
It's the tough bits that make it a good time as well, though.